Hey y'all, I'm TaSheena, and this is Leadership Beyond the Title podcast. Let's be real, leadership isn't a title, it's how you show up, build trust, and make things happen. This podcast is for women of color who are done waiting for permission to lead. Every week, we talk about how to lead beyond politics, position, and perfection with relationships that work, systems that support you, and a leadership style that actually feels like you. Because leadership isn't what's on your business card, it's what people experience when you walk in the room. So if you're ready to lead without being held back by fear, titles, or anyone else's limits, you are in the right place. So let's dive in. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Leadership Beyond the Title podcast. I am here with someone who I call a dear friend. She is someone who I've met in these coaching streets,
Mm.
and we have just connected so well. And today, I think you are going to love this episode because she comes with just a wealth of knowledge, very practical approaches to your career, and she really talks about how to lead even without the titles. And so I wanted to welcome you all to none other than LaShaunique. Hey girl,
Yeah.
hey.
Hey, so excited to be
Yes,
here.
awesome. I'm so excited to have you. It's been a long time coming. We needed to do
Mhm.
this.
Yep, for sure.
Yes, yes. So why don't you start by just telling us who you are and what kind of work you do?
Yes. So LaShaunique Plummer, I have been on a very interesting career journey. So I started my career coming straight out of business school, doing global sourcing and procurement, and decided I wanted to pivot my career. And so I did that pretty quickly in 90 days and became an HR professional. And I grew my career from HR professional to global HR business partner, supporting a team of 20,000 associates, doing all the things, wearing all the different hats, right? So I really enjoyed that, and now I help people who want to pivot and grow their careers, whether that be mostly in HR is who I support, but I work with all types of people. I've worked with chemical engineers, project managers, and everything in between because pivoting is just something that all of us need to know how to do. So I'm very passionate about that, and I can talk about it for days. So I'm excited for today's topic.
Yeah, awesome. Well, before we dive into, the topic today, which is all about pivoting, I wanted to just go back a little bit and talk a little bit more about your story. Really understanding, like, how did you even choose HR? How did you even get to a place of coaching? You started with something that was like procurement, so that's a little different or almost very different than HR. But I wanted people to understand what was your career path and what was your story?
Yeah. So, like many people, when you come out of school, you kind of know what you want to do, but you don't really know what you want to do. I really did want to go into HR because a lot of the stuff that I really enjoyed and came natural to me, and like I got A's in, was all about people motivation, organizational management. But then I had a couple people in my ear that were like, HR doesn't make any money. HR, they're the first to be laid off. Like I had all these things, right? And I was in this very prestigious business school. And I got in my head and I was like, well, maybe it's not for me. Maybe it's not. And also at the time too, I really just, I had to get something, I had to land a role at that time. So I was young and I went to Target corporate and was a business analyst. And I just remember like 1 year in, I was like, business analyst? Like, really? Like, that's what I did? Like, that's what I decided to do? And I started to have these moments where I was like, I worked on little babies' clothes, right? Sourcing the clothes
Mhm.
and the clothes coming from overseas, working with buyers, working with like different people and getting the clothes to stores, right? So everything in between, the colors and it was cool. I learned a lot, right? I learned a lot. It was amazing. But I just had one day where I was like, I really don't care about buttons or
Yeah.
hangers. And I was like, if I gotta look at one more hanger and be like, what's the hanger code? I'm gonna lose it, right? I'm gonna lose it. So when you start to like really question even the little tasks and can't really get through them, that's kind of a signal to me that like something is a little bit off kilter because when you really like something, the little tasks they might be annoying, but they don't annoy you as much, right? So I've felt that shift for me. And so also like many people, a big thing happened at my company where Target went through one of their massive layoffs. I was not laid off, but it was felt like the right time. So I stayed with Target, went to lead a team at a store level of about 40 people. Love that. And then I squeezed the juice out of that limit. And I was like, and I kept going back to it. And I even tried to at some point talk to people about what I actually wanted, which was HR. It kept coming back to HR. It kept coming back. And I also got pushback from people. Oh, HR is competitive to get into in our organization. Oh, you need da 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 da. I got all this like, pushback. I got a wall put up.
Mm,
I was like, okay, so that's why I stayed with Target, but I went, on the operation side. I went to the store. Again, learned a lot,
yeah.
did well, excelled at it, went back to the drawing board and said, hey, I really want to be in HR. How do I make that happen? And the straw that broke the camel's back is I sent an email to one of our district leaders. He said, if you ever need anything, send me an email. I said,
Mm.
okay. So I said, I needed something. I sent an email and I got crickets. And I said, okay, time to go. Right. Like I've been singing this song a little too long and I'm ready to pivot. And so I actually left my job without a job and I went all in and I decided to make that. So that's kind of the journey, right? Like I kept, and the thing was, I kept coming back. I kept getting like bogged down by the little tasks, and I knew that was a signal. And what I did without anybody even asking me was the stuff that was connected to HR.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yep.
So how did you end up getting into HR? So you left Target, you didn't have a
Yep.
job.
Hmm.
What was next?
So what I did was pretty much relentlessly network.
Mm,
And that's how I would sum it up now, right? If I had to like just sum it up in a quick bow. I mean, obviously there was more nuance to that, right? But relentlessly network and learn how other people's journeys in HR, what it looked like, what it felt like, just genuinely, right? Genuinely before I did anything, before I tried to ask for a job or anything, I just wanted to know what am I getting myself into? It was funny too though, because like after like 14 days in, I was like, why the hell did I not research a little more before I had left? I was like, holy crap, like I had time. Well, I didn't really have time because the schedule was crazy in retail.
yeah,
But I was like, I should have made time to talk to more people before I left. I was like, holy cow, like I could have had more information before I did this exit. But I didn't let that bog me down. I was like, whatever, it is what it is. Imma just figure out a way to speed this up
yeah,
and to relentlessly network. So I did it more for informational purposes to see what I was getting into, to understand the language of HR, to really learn. And then again, now I didn't have the language for it, but now, what I teach my clients, what I work on with them is understanding your true transferable skills and how to speak that into the language that, into your future company's language or future functions language. Got really, really good at that as well. And so ultimately, I ended up landing my job through finding someone on LinkedIn, cold reaching out to them being super open to help me. They gave me resources. They said, go to this networking thing. I went to the networking thing. And then I met a recruiter there, other people too. And I met a recruiter there. And then later, an opportunity was posted, and I had already had an established relationship with this recruiter, and that's how I end up landing my first role, and it was a perfect fit role, and they
mm,
saw that from my resume, from my background. They wanted someone specifically with my type of background. They loved my particular school, right? They didn't necessarily care that I didn't have direct background. They loved it. Just fit. It was kind of a natural fit,
yeah.
and I stayed there. I stayed at that organization for 6 years and grew my career at that organization.
Mhm. Yeah, you have a long, I think of, like, San Francisco Lombard Street with the crooked street, like, your path was a little crooked, it went here and there, but you ended up
Yep.
getting to the place that you
Mhm.
actually wanted to get to, and similarly, like, I was in retail, I really wanted to be at in HR at one point. I decided that I was more interested in the people side of HR versus maybe the technical policy type of things.
Mhm.
So I didn't go into HR, but I did go into this people element that was really important to me. Now, I know that you got into HR, you loved it. It sounds like you stayed there for 6 years. Why the shift?
Why
Why
the
the
shift?
change?
Why the shift again to entrepreneurship? Yes, yes. Okay, so the shift to entrepreneurship. So then again, something shifted within me, right? So something shifted within me where I started to have those same thoughts where I was like, "Oh my god, if I do another I-9 form, I'm going to lose
Yeah,
my I can't.
exactly.
If I have to recruit for one more sales position, I am not you right? Like so you kind of had to feel that and again, I got to the point where I was having the conversations of certain roles that I was interested in. And it just became more and more it just felt like it wasn't going to be realistic. I ended up taking a role, my last role, and there were elements of it that I really, really liked. But I didn't know that essentially what I thought was going to be 70% of the role ended up being 30% of the role. Right.
Mm,
And so it wasn't aligned with what I was looking for or what I wanted to do. And then also there was a lot of shifts and changes going on within the organization. And so I started to have this connection to coaching because I had a coach within my own time in my career. And I heavily contribute getting that coaching support to
mm.
my 3 promotions and to my ability to get to 6 figures in HR, to negotiate equity, to get into the leadership development program. And when I did that and I really thought about it and I was like, "Oh my god, like I just think other women, black women, women of color, this resource exists." Like, I talk to people and they're like, "I thought coaching was like for executives, like only executives get coaching." And so I loved it so much that I went and I, took courses about it and tried to learn more about again, tried to learn. I talked to more coaches and I did that exploration of it. And I was like, I love this side of it. I love this side of and I also really started to crave more and more autonomy, right? And just realistically, in a lot of organizations these days, whether you are an individual contributor or a leader, you're still at the whim of the
Yeah.
resources or lack thereof resources. And so, where I would get like, oh, you can design a program like when there's time, or yeah, you can do, yeah, we want to do more like, X, Y, and Z when things cool down, right? And so again, I kept feeling
Or
that
within these constraints
or
only.
within these constraints. Yeah, I remember too, like very clearly being in a meeting with talent management, a high talent management leader and another leader I respected. And they were asking my opinion on like what we needed to do to coach and train our HR professionals and how to get the, younger stage professionals to grow and to use my story as a way that people can excel and everything. And I was, I remember talking about it and, they started off excited and then they were like, maybe again, lack of resources, like the whole, it felt like a lot of work. It was like all the, and I was like, okay, okay, clocked it. I clocked it. And I was just like, to me, it was like, I think I can do more of what I good and what I want. And
Yeah.
that's why I started to shift more to like, how can I help people externally, help people, in their own journey and their own path and get the resources because I think companies a lot of time have a lot of great intentions, but it does again come down to lack of resources. So I
Yeah.
said a lot. Hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because there's a lot of pivoting that you've been doing across your career, but it has always led you to, like, what you actually love. Like,
Yes.
you're not pivoting and it's like, you're just reacting to something that's
Mhm.
happening. You're like, "I'm being very intentional about where I wanna go, and I'm gonna do my due diligence in order to figure out what that thing is." And so that's what I really love about your story. And so let's talk a little bit more about the pivoting and about what that looked like for you. So I was writing down a lot of notes while you were talking. So the first question that I have is like, there's a lot of people who are afraid, especially right now. Like, if you have a job right now, you're in a 9 to 5. I remember we used to call my last organization like it was the golden handcuffs, and you were going to hold on for dear life. Another term is job hugging, where you're like, I'm going to hug on to this job. I am not going to let it go because I
Mhm.
don't know what's going to happen. And so people are or in their careers and they're unhappy and the
Mm.
organization is toxic. and they wanna move, but they're afraid. So my question to you is, how do you navigate the fear of pivoting?
Hmm.
And because fear is not gonna go away. It's
Right.
not something that you say, like, "Just get rid of it,"
Mhm.
but you have to kinda learn how to get through it or how to navigate through it, and so, did you have any fear while pivoting, and how did you navigate that?
For sure, for sure. Yeah. So I got two personalities on the answer to this question. So
Okay.
the personality number one is that I get it, right? Like I hear you, I get it, and there's of course so many what ifs, right? Like when it comes to thinking about pivoting, and society also doesn't necessarily embrace it for us, right? So I also understand that, like, at every stage where I wanted to pivot, there was always something somebody had to say, right? Every single stage. And so that also contributed to my fear, whether it was family members, whether it was, people that I really respected and admired. I even had one in my life that I really looked up to. They were like, no, if you want to do that, that's going to be very hard, and I did something like that and I didn't like it, right? So
Mhm.
you're not gonna like it either. And I was like, but I'm a little rebel. So, I was like, I don't think that's true for me. But yeah, but that can start to like seep into your no your internal compass, right? Your internal
Mhm.
compass. And like you also want to make sure that you're being thoughtful and that you are not being reckless, if you will. So I hear you, and also with all the economy talk, like I can hear what people are saying. Okay, that's side of me number one. Side of me number two is, who cares what they got to say? And you have to. I think. How do I want to say this? I have always been of the mind that if you really want to do something, you can figure it out. Like you can figure out how to do it and you can make it happen. But you also have to get to a point where it's like, this is the path, right? Now I just got to figure out how to do it. I think about, like, moms and parents, and I think
Yeah.
about when you got to get to work, right? Like, or like just different scenarios in our lives. And when you're a mom and you got to get your kid to 16 different events, or you're a mom and your child is sick, but you still got to make other, you find a way. You find a way to make it happen. You find a way to make it happen. And so I put the cap on of like, you can make it happen, right? You kind of have to kind of like buck up a little bit and be like, this is the path that I want, and
Yeah.
and like practically like shut out the noise. Like again, at every stage, I had to make sure that I shut out the noise of people saying that it was going to be hard, or it wasn't going to be possible. I was going to have to do it a certain way. And so my favorite thing to tell my clients is like, you got to be Delulu. Like you really
Yeah.
do. You got to be a little Delulu in a good way. And I know some people are like, oh, I don't want to be Delulu. I got to be realistic, right? I hear the audience saying that, but I'm gonna just say I'm living proof. Like being Delulu, you actually get to the place that you want to go, or
Yeah.
you can stay in the role that you want if you really want to, um, if you're too afraid to actually make the pivot. Now, practically, I'll give you some practical stuff as well. So before I left my job without a job, I did think, talk it through with my partner. I think we ended up saving. I had already had emergency savings, but we had talked about it maybe 6 months, 8 months, and we saved more. We thought about, can we buy tissue on sale? We thought about, like, I literally, this might be TMI, but I was like, I'm gonna buy all the tampons on sale. Like,
Yeah.
I literally just thought about, like, what do I need to
Yep.
feel
Yep.
safer and less afraid? Like, what could soften the blow when I don't think I have to think about my necessities? That will soften the blow. That was one of the things. With my partner being on board, that helped me feel a little bit more safe and secure, which, we can talk about that. Because sometimes you gotta make decisions for yourself. But like, there are, some practical things that you can do too to make yourself feel more safe and secure. So, to your point, I didn't just jump, like, I definitely planned for it at all stages. Same thing with entrepreneurship. Like, I have been thinking about for 2 years, like, one day I do want to leave. I definitely left a little sooner
Yeah.
than I really, really wanted to, but sometimes that's just how life shake out, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's to the audience, right, where you might be laid off right now, and you're thinking about maybe going into your own business, or you want to take on some consulting stuff. Like, sometimes we're forced in paths, and we just gotta embrace it. So yeah. So there's the mindset of it, right? And then there's the practicality of it as well.
Yep, yep, exactly. I love where you're going with that and just like navigating through that fear and being both delusional and practical at the same time. One of the things that stands out to me when you were speaking was the fact that sometimes it's well intended and people will share with you that it's going to be hard, or don't do that, like be realistic and make the smart choice. And of course they're seeing it from the level of their perspective, or they're making that decision based on the capacity that they have for risk taking
Mhm.
and for trying new
That
things.
part.
And
Mhm.
so what I love about your story is you're like, you know what, I'm not going to think about all of that. I am going to go where I think that I need to go. It was similar for me when I was laid off in 2024, and people were like, just, you need to look for a new job. And I was like, you know what? I've been sitting on this side hustle for quite a long time. And I kind of knew in the September of the year before that it was time to start making pivots and start really getting focused. So this is the route I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And every day, let me tell you, every day I'm like, I am freaking delusional right now. Like, girl, what you doing?
Right, right.
But I still do it because, we see billionaires and millionaires, and they all were freaking delusional too. And look where they are
Exactly.
now. And so we just have to keep going. So I really love that you shared that. There were a couple of things that you said about just practically also how you did the pivot. You talked about networking. You talked about having those, like, elements of research and really researching different things. And so I wanted you to talk about a little bit more about, like, what are the practical things that you can do? You just shared one thing, but in addition to that, there was networking, there was also researching and really, finding out about the role and what that looks like. And how do you, direct your clients?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think first and foremost, right, dust off networking. And especially if you don't like networking, you should try to embrace that in a way that feels good to you sooner rather than later. So what I usually see is people don't embrace networking. So I've always been very good at networking and open to networking. And so it was easy for me, again, for me to do that quickly when I pivoted in 90 days. But if you're in the space or place, like, I would dust that skill off and I would do that. Especially I have some clients now where they're like, I'm seeing some writing on the wall. There's a lot of changes. My company might be doing more, work changes. My manager was laid off. I might be laid off. So our first strategy, I'm like, let's dust off the networking, right? And so one of the things I tell people to do is I call it the hot list. 10 to 15 people that are people that have been in the trenches with you. So these are previous managers, these are previous colleagues. These are your church people that you've been in the church with for 10 years. Like, anybody that knows your work ethic, that you have, again, maybe been late night projects with, that can vouch for you and will do it in a heartbeat. Okay. So that's your hot list. So that's like, dust that off, reach out to those people and just genuinely connect with them and link up. And what that does is, if the writing is on the wall, or if you're like, I gotta get out of here because this toxic manager has got me having panic attacks or whatever, then you can go, and usually one of three things happen. Either a role gets posted at the company at one of those people, and then you can easily be like, hey, it was so good catching up with you last week, girl. A
Yeah.
role actually popped up at your company.
Yeah.
Or you can reach out to them and, stay in contact with them. And then at some point they will be like, actually, girl, there's a role that's about to be posted. Are you interested? Right. Or again, you just kind of keep opportunities open and keep that relationship kind of open. You never know how it will circle back to you. So that's one in terms of networking. The second thing is, like, actually look at your finances. So this is one thing, like, when I've had to coach people through, they're like in the job search, but they're like, LaShaunique, I don't know if I can go to work one more day. I had to call off last week because I just couldn't go in. And I'm like, girl, you gotta quit. And they're like, that's
Mm,
hard, right? But my partner
right.
this and this, that. And I'm like, okay. Usually I'm like, okay, but did you actually look at your finances, like deep
Yeah,
dive. Like if you were not to work for 6 months, right? And I'd like you to have a 6-month kind of cushion, what would that actually look like, right?
right,
And so all of my clients have been like, I can make it work, right? Like I can figure it out. I can pull from my 401k if I really want to, or I actually do have more savings than I thought, or actually, I don't want to borrow from my parent, but I can, so they actually start to think about what are the real resources they have. And nobody wants to pull from those things.
right. But
But if
that's
you
what they're
really
there
needed
for.
to, if
Yeah,
they're there, right, that's what they're there for, then,
yeah,
so yeah, so actually look at your finances and what's possible, and being okay to let that identity go of like, I bring in this like certain paycheck on this certain cadence, right? And then, yeah, so those are like two big practical ones that I think help get people to a place of more, again, more safety and more confidence. When it comes to the research side of it, I also just want to point out research for information, not for fact.
yeah.
So, what I mean by that, most people start to research and then they're like, well, they told me I have to get this particular certification. I have to go with this particular title and I have to do the. If anybody's telling you have to anything, I want you to politely put up in your mind, put a pause up. And it's a data point that they have for you. Good to know. It doesn't have to be necessarily my particular journey. And I'll just give one example, and then I'll turn it back over to you. I had a client, she talked to a recruiter, had a recruiter friend. It was like a recruiter friend that she ended up, making. And she was like, they told me that they understand my background. It's very different. I mean, she was a funeral director, right? She's a funeral director. She's like, very different. And they don't, nobody else is going to get my background. So it's probably going to be hard for me to kind of, to get into HR, and that I should 100% get a certification.
Mm,
And I was like, okay. So they understood your background and they pivoted into HR without a
right,
certification, but you have to get a certification. I was like, let's just like think about that for a second. Think about
right.
that advice. And she pivoted without a certification. So,
Mm,
like I just
exactly.
want everyone under the sound of my voice to be like, when you do research, research for information, not to find everything as a fact.
Yeah, yeah, so spot on, so spot on. I also like to tell people in the research to research the company too.
Mm,
'Cause the
mm,
worst thing you can do is to go into an organization and you're like, "This was just like the last job I done left. Like, it's just as toxic here. Like, what's
mm,
wrong with these people?"
mhm,
And so
mhm.
you definitely want to ensure, yes, the role, but also the bigger system that you're gonna be a part of is equally important as well. Like, one of the things that you were also touching on is relationships, and I always say in leadership, relationships is one of the key points. You
Yeah,
cannot miss having relationships. Yes, there's a lot of technology and things can do things fast and you can sit behind your laptop or your computer and do things all by yourself. But when the rubber meets the road, if people don't know who you are, they've never spoken to you, you can forget it.
you can forget it. You can forget it. And you say that as an introvert.
Yes, as an introvert, as an
Yeah.
introvert, as an introvert, I'm like and I find my ways, like, I'm not gonna be as extrovert as you to go to, like, a lot of different events, but I'm definitely going to create those small, intimate spaces and communities with people. I will talk to maybe one person,
Mhm.
that I'm really cool with or I know slightly and start to work up a deeper relationship with them with the hopes that they'll introduce me to other people and they become my talking point person. Like I don't
Yeah.
really have to talk. They do the work for me to introduce me to other people. And that for me, I mean, it's one of the things like even with you, like it's how I met Dr. Nicole. Like it
Mhm.
was like you went out there and Dr. Nicole and I are both introverts. So we
Right,
probably
right.
both were fully happy that we had you to do the introductions for us, but that's just the way it is. And so you definitely want to anchor into relationships and networking is nothing but building relationships. Like that's what it is.
Absolutely. If
Get
you wanna
opportunities.
pivot If you think you're gonna pivot without relationships, it's just gonna be 20 times harder for sure.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
Another thing that you mentioned was that you always understood the signs of the shift.
Mm.
You were like,
Mhm.
"I felt it, it was there, I knew it," and I'm wondering how did you know? Because some of us stay in places way too long because we think, "Oh, it'll get better. Oh, it's okay, it's a pass," but we end up setting in situations that are just like, "Mm-mm." It's bad for
Mhm.
us. So how did you know? What was the feeling? Like, what was it really?
Yeah. Yeah, and I gotta say I wasn't always perfect at it, right? So what really helped me was having multiple mentors, having a career coach that I kept for I think 3 to 4 years. I mean, we're still going now, so it's like 5
Yeah,
years. 5 years technically,
yeah.
right? But in those stages it was like 3, 3 to 4 years. So having a career coach. And what I attribute to that is that I find people who stay in places way too long is because they live in their heads by themselves for a long time.
Mm,
Right. And so when you have people that can help put a mirror up for you as well, like when you're having those little inklings and then you're talking it through, like I was talking about it in career coaching, I was talking about it in therapy, or I was talking about it in with my mentors, right? And so they started to say little things that then kind of revealed to me like, oh, yeah, I feel this I'm saying these things and then now I feel these things. And I think too, as I've gotten wiser in my career,
yeah,
now I know a little bit more what it feels like in my body. So the very first time I was very unsure. But again, as I've gone on in my career now, I know the signs. And I've even told myself now I've made a rule for myself that I need to plan for every 5 to 6 years, like what's gonna be the part of my pivot. Because I think
mm,
that is what makes sense for me personally, and those are when I've now seen the shifts, right? That's where I see most of the shifts. I like to do different things. I like to do big things, right? I love public speaking and I want to just continue to reevaluate. There's another woman too, Jerisha Hawk, who's a business coach, right? Where she talks about she always plans, she learned from someone like 7 years, take a sabbatical, right? And so I think we should just embrace like the different stages. And I always say this, and I don't believe in one size fits all rules, but I do see this theme where, and that's why I picked the 5 years, where I see people start itching at the 3 to 4 mark, and then they
mm,
start to get in that burnout at the 5 to 6 mark when they haven't made a significant pivot or change in their life. So
yeah,
that's just what I noticed. And I also just think that's also the sign of our times. Like we like like to be stimulated very often. Workplaces change all the time. We're just in a constant state of change and stimulation. So I think that's just a sign of the times as well. So yeah, so a combination of others and then just like starting to learn myself and be more in tune with myself as well. There's also physical signs too, like where I just literally like would like not wanna hear the ping on the Microsoft Teams, like, I would just
yeah,
like, like that kinda thing, or again, not wanting to get on a phone call with somebody who I used to enjoy being on the phone, and not that they did anything wrong, but it was just I was so irritable that I didn't even wanna talk about the thing anymore, you know what I mean? So, like, those types of physical and mental signs, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a meme I saw once that said, when you start getting real irritable at different things, everything somebody does, you're like, "Oh, look at her drinking that water."
Exactly,
Because every little
exactly,
thing it just bothers
exactly.
you.
Exactly. You're like, "Oh, look at the
Right,
gift they chose to use on
exactly,
Teams." Like, literally, like, "It's time to go, girl. It's time to go."
exactly. Exactly, yes, yes. Okay, okay. So it sounds like what you're saying, especially about pivoting, something that I'm like, I think I'm catching is that pivoting doesn't only have to be like a pivot to a new job. It could also be some type of pivot within a job. Am I correct? Or
For sure. Yeah, I classify pivots as anything that's gonna be different for you, right? I have clients that come to me. They're like, okay, I want to stay in HR, but I want to go to a different industry
Mm,
because again, the skills of pivoting are understanding your transferable skills, how to articulate them to the intended audience, right? That's pretty much what it boils down to. It's a lot harder than people imagine it to be, but it can be simple when you kind of boil it down that way. So yeah, pivoting to a different industry, pivoting to I also personally I also think of promotions as a little bit of a pivot, especially if you're going from associate to leadership, right? Like I just kind of think of it as all encompassing, and I think all of us are going to need to know how the skill of pivoting in our lives. I actually was at a I work at the library once a month to do resume reviews, and a woman, she was in her same job for 33 years. And she's like, "I'm so close to retiring and I wanna do my same job, but I'd be open to a new industry," right? And I'm like, "But you gotta have 33 years, same company,
yeah,
same role. She's gonna do the same job, but now she's gonna be open to industries." That pushback that she's gonna get, the objection that the company is gonna have is her one industry experience. So, like, it doesn't matter where you are in your journey or what you're thinking about doing, you're going to have that skill of pivoting. And it could be like you said, like micro pivots, if you will, if we want to give a
yeah,
name to it.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I'm glad you're going here because my next question is, why do you think pivoting is important?
Yeah, companies are gonna keep changing it and shaking, especially if find yourself like wanting to stay in corporate America, which is totally gonna be people's lives and journeys, right? You're talking to entrepreneurs here, right? But we've been in corporate America, and some people just genuinely enjoy that. So companies are gonna continue to pivot, so you're gonna have to be able to do that as well. And you're gonna have to be able to do that from the standpoint not only like, yes, I want to pivot to a new industry, but internally as well, you're gonna have to be able to pivot into your team taking on AI responsibilities. You're going to have to pivot into, on learning new techniques on change management. You're going to have to pivot into so many different things. Like if at COVID, we didn't know we was going to have to pivot to all being online, right? So, I just think that's what the future holds. I think that's what the future holds, and we're gonna have to just buckle up for that, for the pivoting ride for sure. And not let it I've been telling one of my clients this recently. We got to learn how to like observe the roller coaster but not be on the roller coaster, right? Like every time the roller coaster makes a move, we are like rocked, right?
Yeah,
Like we have to be able to observe it, and then at some point we got to be able to direct it, right? And so if you have the skill of pivoting, it's just going to feel so much more comfortable for you to do that.
yeah. Oh, I love that. That's my job right there.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
observe the roller coaster, don't be yeah. We're not
Don't be
gonna
on
let
it.
it float us around.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I've been talking a lot with my clients about, like, how do we kind of future-proof our careers?
Mm,
Not necessarily that we won't be laid off or that we won't be impacted by recessions, but part of that is being able to kind of pivot in this new world. And one of the things I've been saying is like with AI, it's not that AI will necessarily take over your job, but if you don't understand how to pivot within your job to incorporate AI in a way that makes sense, that's when, you could be looked at like, I don't know if this person is necessary. And
100%.
so with AI, like for sure, we need to be saying to ourselves, yeah, it can do some tasks differently. It can speed up some workflows, but it's not gonna build the relationships. It's not gonna be creative for me. It's not gonna tell me what solution I should be solving.
Right,
And
right.
so we have to learn how to work within that and pivoting is part of that, but it's pivoting in the skills you have and
Mhm.
knowing that I don't know if you've heard the term the skinny tree in corporate, like,
Mm,
you can no longer just be the skinny tree and only focus on one thing. You kinda have to have some branches and kinda spread out a little bit,
right,
in order
right.
to build some of those transferable skills.
For sure, 100%. Yeah, I just also that brings up for me that we just have to let go of the identity of just we're gonna 100% know what our roles are all the
Right.
time and what we do, right? So
Yep.
I'm coaching a lot of people on that where they're like, that wasn't, my job description, or like I didn't know what I have to take on that. And there's a line, right, where where you can, get taken advantage of, and you have to be able to like, discuss that, right? So that's a different conversation. But at this point, the identity of like my company is pivoting too much. It's too soon for that given the state of where we are. And I think every company is feeling that. I don't know about like with your clients, but
Yeah.
99% of my clients are like, there is so much change happening, reorg, whatever. And so AI or not, it's just, again, you have to be able to just build the identity that I can do it all. I can learn it all. I can use my transferable skills to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Exactly. All right, so we're getting close to the end here. And so, what other advice would you give to the audience about pivoting and just being ready for this new shift in our world and our society that's happening right now?
I would say first and foremost, know that pivoting is normal, right? I think one, we sometimes shame ourselves into a place of why did I get this degree? Then and now I got this communications degree, but now I want to do finance and this doesn't make any sense. And now I got to go get another. So, like, one, just know that pivoting is super normal, more normal than you may think, and somebody has done it before. Okay, so I think that that's part of it. The second thing I would say is when you are ready to pivot, when you have loved ones around you that have thoughts, just be prepared to answer their questions or have for yourself what you want to say. I don't necessarily believe in keeping it a secret. That's what a lot of people do because again, you want to leverage your network and like friends and family and stuff are part of your network. But obviously you want to, know the boundaries of like your own family situation and who not there's some people
Mhm.
you can't tell and
Yeah.
that is what it is, right? But just be confident in your decision because when you're confident, that will rub off on people. So if you're afraid to tell your mom, you're afraid to tell your dad, you're afraid to tell your sister, just be like, yeah, I got this. Like I know what I'm doing. Either like maybe I've invested in a career coach or you know what, I've done my research. I got this. Like people have done this. Like be if you can be confident in it, then the people around you can be confident in it as well. And then the last thing is the reason why this skill pivoting is so important is because you're going to have to do it in any economy at any time depending on what's happened, right? So again, we've talked about layoffs, we talked about AI, we've talked about all these other things, but you're going to have to know how to do it in any situation at any company at any level. So the sooner you can embrace the skill, just like any skill, right? Just like when you had to learn how to navigate difficult conversations or you had to learn how to break some bad news to someone for the first time as a leader, right? Like you can learn the skill, right? You can definitely learn the skill. And I know many of you out there are going to do it for sure. And I believe in you. I
Yeah.
truly do.
Yeah. So I know that you are where you've invited me to be in your very first summit. Whoop whoop. So this is
Mhm.
exciting. So
Mhm.
I wanted to invite you to tell the audience, tell us more about this summit. What's happening? What's the tea? What's the tea?
Woo, yes. So this is going to be an amazing summit. So we are going to be talking about power skills that you need in order to really grow, pivot, or upskill right now wherever you are in your career. And I invited you, right, because you talk about all the things, all the team things, all the things as it relates to just being more effective, leading without the title. And I know you in particular are going to be talking about consulting, right? Which is also something you do day in and day out with leadership teams. And so these power skills, there's 8 of them that we're going to be talking about. And you don't want to miss them, right? So consulting is one of them. Storytelling is another one. I'm going to be talking about pivoting, which is one of them, right? And we're going to be getting even deeper into pivoting and how to feel rich at every salary bracket, which is like a whole nother skill, which you that's a little teaser for you to come. So there's gonna be 11 sessions. It's November 17th and 18th. And a lot of people in the room are gonna be HR. So even if you're not HR though, like imagine being in a room with a bunch of HR people, okay? networking. So definitely come. There will be networking opportunities. And you're gonna learn about transferable skills that you need to be successful, right? Said a different way. And so I would definitely be in the room. They're 30-minute sessions, so they're gonna be bite sized. They're gonna be chatting with you for about 20 minutes, and then you're gonna have the ability to ask questions. And we're just gonna be like, you're just gonna be mentored on and loved on in these sessions. Most of the speakers are people of color, right? So 8 of them are people of color. So I'm very excited about that. And we're gonna just be really spilling the tea on the advice that you need about that particular skill that you probably wouldn't get anywhere else, or you get too late, or you have to like go through a bunch of trial and error or a bunch of coffee chats, right? I know my introvert people don't want coffee chats. So if you hate coffee chats, you should definitely be there, okay? Oh, so that's the tea on the summit, the HR Mentorship Summit. I just really wanted to pull together a place so that the people that are really truly thinking about growing, pivoting, or upskilling in 2025 and 2026, that they had a place to do that. And so I wanted to provide the opportunity. So I'm excited that you're going to be in the room, and I know you're going to
So excited.
lay some edges down for the people.
So excited. I'm so excited about this opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be amazing. And to your point, like, you do not have to be HR. This is leadership. This is elevating your skills. This is being able to network and build those relationships. And there might be an HR leader in the audience who's like, I got a role and I'm
I'm
looking.
looking for a product manager,
Right.
or I'm looking for,
Exactly.
yeah, for sure, for
Exactly.
sure.
Yes, yes. So please do come. Super happy. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for coming on this podcast today. Before we leave, I like to ask all my guests one question, which is what what is your definition of leading beyond a title?
Leading beyond the title to me just means pure ownership. Pure ownership of whatever comes your way, pure ownership of what you want to do for yourself, pure ownership in your dreams, right? And not letting anybody take that away. Like there was this poem that somebody gave me when I was in like 5th grade to recite. Right, I bombed it. I didn't recite it well. I think I like had stage fright. It was the first and only time I had stage fright. I haven't had it since. But and I'm gonna butcher it, right? But what it stuck with me is like, you're the captain of your soul. I am the captain. And
Yes.
so yes, there will be waves, there will be seas, there will be darkness where like it's hard to navigate, but at the end of the day, I am at the helm of everything. And if I truly believe that and own that, then I will always be leading, no matter what title is put in front of me, whether that's sister, friend, HR
Yeah.
leader,
Yeah.
coach, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oh, that just warmed my heart. I love that answer. Oh, thank you so much. This is you see how amazing she is? Y'all,
Oh, so sweet.
yeah, she's amazing. Well, thank you so much, LaShaunique, and, I hope that this audience comes to the summit. I will
Yeah,
put the link in the show notes for you to be able to register.
right.
Again, it's November
And it's
17th, and
free, totally
it's free.
free. Mm-hmm.
Free. Free, guys, free.
Exactly.
Clock that, clock that. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, until next time, I'll see
Until
y'all
next time.
later.
All right, y'all.
Bye.